This is Our News, the weekend edition. And on the broadcast tonight, the Prime Minister gives further clarification on extending the state of emergency to September. Plus, the Health Minister places healthcare infrastructure as a paramount concern for him. And a Grand Bahama MP nervous about that island's 2-week lockdown.
Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Andrew Knowles, and thanks so much for joining us. The Ministry of Health confirming 10 new additional cases of COVID-19 this evening, bringing the total number to 326. 6 of those cases are here in New Providence. 4 are men ages 26, 49, and 41, while the 2 women are ages 46 and 31. The remaining 4 cases are on Grand Bahama and comprise a 31-year-old woman and 3 men ages 56, 30, and 42. There are 222 active cases and 10 hospitalizations. 130 cases are in New Providence, 159 on Grand Bahama, 21 in Bimini, 4 in Cat Key, 2 in Cat Island, 6 on the Berry Islands, 3 on Moores Island, and 1 in Great Guana Key. Well, Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis providing further explanation behind the decision to extend the state of emergency to the end of September. As the country continues to experience a significant surge in cases, the Prime Minister says it's simply a matter of being able to adapt and respond quickly.
We thought that was necessary because COVID is a new entity. We don't know exactly, we don't understand this disease fully well. It changes. People have different presentations. We may have no cases today, and suddenly we may have a flare-up tomorrow. We must be able to act very quickly. And if we don't have such facility, we may not necessarily need it, but if we did not have it, then we have to go back to Parliament, debate, and try to get it put in place or get it approved, while at the same time the disease entity is just raving through our society.
The competent authority also announcing a slew of new measures aimed at combating the spread of the coronavirus during the Ministry of Health's press conference yesterday. Among the new measures is the return of weekend lockdowns and a change in curfew to come into effect on Monday. And while inter-island travel will be discontinued effective Tuesday at 7 p.m., the borders will remain open to international travel. Dr. Minnis sought to explain.
Those travelers coming from abroad, there are very strict regulations. You're talking about just private jets, yachts, etc. They are very closely monitored. They must have COVID negative tests, and therefore they're very closely monitored. With respect to the family islands, once individuals move into one family island, they can move to 3, 4 different family islands quite easily. And we may lose them through the system in terms of monitoring.
The Prime Minister did note the easing of restrictions in due time for those COVID-free islands. He also made another strong plea to Bahamians and residents considering non-essential travel overseas to stay at home. His plea comes as a number of the cities Bahamians frequent are seeing a significant increase in cases.
If you are thinking of traveling for non-essential or emergency reasons, please, I beg you, stay home at this time. I ask again, please stay home. Your travel to such hotspot areas can subsequently place your entire family and your nation in danger.
Deputy Chief Medical Officer Dr. Delon Brennan seeking to explain why those passengers traveling from Grand Bahama on Tuesday were forced to go into a government quarantine facility without notice. Police intercepted the flights, and Police Commissioner Paul Roll told the media this week that the decision was handed down from Cabinet. However, the following day, residents and visitors traveling on Bahamas Air's last repatriation flight from Fort Lauderdale were allowed to quarantine at home. Brennan explained that everyone who entered the country was placed into some form of quarantine.
what we made sure we put into place was either you were physically placed into a facility if it required that, or you were placed onto the application, our Hubcat application, to make sure that we were able to track people and that they stayed in place where they needed to be. So it was a combination of physically making sure that people were in a particular facility, or that those who were virtually placed into quarantine. It's a mixture of those two things.
Meantime, opposition leader Philip Davis gave his views.
You see how the government has been treating Bahamians. Clearly, we are being treated differently from, particularly the ordinary Bahamians, are being treated differently from those who have and those who are not Bahamians. This is a hypocritical approach to this whole exercise.
While healthcare professionals lead the medical response to the COVID-19 crisis, the new Minister of Health says he too is carrying out a mandate to strengthen the national healthcare infrastructure, especially on the Family Islands.
I am leading an aggressive campaign to ensure all healthcare upgrades and infrastructural projects move forward immediately. Whatever decisions need to be made will be made. Money was allocated in the budget for works to be done. We will get those projects going to ensure the infrastructural needs of the Bahamian healthcare system are met in the shortest possible time.
Government is moving to ensure the preparation of community health care facilities in the event a suspected patient shows up. Wells says the facilities here in New Providence have identified space to isolate any suspected COVID-19 patients.
On New Providence, all of the primary health care facilities, inclusive of Elizabeth Estates, Flamingo Gardens, Fleming Street, Blue Hill Road, Adolescent Health Center, Arnstown, Fox Hill, Gambia, and Adelaide's clinics have identified a space for the temporary isolation of patients suspected of COVID-19. Once the assessments are completed, the patient would be referred to South Beach Health Center, the Princess Margaret Hospital, or Doctors Hospital West, if necessary.
On some Family Islands, local healthcare teams have already identified venues for isolation and quarantine. However, Minister Wells indicated that there are challenges on other islands which they're moving to address.
In some locations, we are working to expand and improve facilities for the isolation and quarantine of cases as is necessary to meet the needs of the related community. Infrastructure work is needed at various sites. I have taken on the task of ensuring that whatever works are needed will be expedited in the shortest possible time.
As Grand Bahama continues its 2-week lockdown, one of the island's MPs says she is nervous. West Grand Bahama and Bimini MP Pakeisha Parker Edgecombe told our news the island has seen enough rough times and there's concern for those still struggling since Hurricane Dorian. Here's Kyle Joaquin.
I think for the most part they're faring well. A little bit nervous because we haven't been through this before to this extent.
With Grand Bahama recording double-digit COVID-19 cases daily, Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis made a decision to implement a 14-day lockdown which took effect Thursday night. Since then, the streets of Grand Bahama have been virtually empty. However, there is the concern for residents seeing that the island's hospital is still being repaired and the road to recovery continues even 11 months after Hurricane Dorian.
And so a lot of questions are being asked about how are we going to do it? Are we going to be well equipped? And we've had to advise a lot of our residents just to basically pay attention to all that is being said and to just have faith and to be able to access what is being made available to them.
When he announced the lockdown on Tuesday, Minnis said there is enough food on the island to feed residents. In addition, 14,000 food parcels are expected to be distributed. But it's the daily struggle that's already on Grand Bahama that has since been exacerbated by COVID-19.
That concern still exists. There is more work to be done that I can say that we need to make sure happens. For a lot of the people who would have been affected by Dorian, the rebuilding efforts are going to take some time, both from a physical point of view as well as an emotional point of view. And so we're assuring them and letting them know that, yes, we're going to have to push harder and we're going to have to do so much more.
Grand Bahama has gone from having only 8 confirmed COVID-19 cases prior to the country's borders reopening to now over 120. And as residents there juggle reconstruction and now a health crisis, Parker Edgecombe said it's going to take some serious teamwork to make it through.
I do believe that the Ministry of Grand Bahama and all of those on Grand Bahama are doing what they can to assist. I particularly want to, thank the Disaster Reconstructive Authority at this time, who are also going into the communities and making sure that people are registered and that they sign up for the home repair program that is taking place. So it's just a matter of getting that information out to people, letting them know that there are programs in place that can assist them, and then us being effectively able to manage that assistance for them.
For Our News, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Well, co-chair of the Progressive Liberal Party's COVID-19 task force and PLP Senator Michael Darville told senators that the situation in Grand Bahama is much worse than officials are letting on. Darville made the comment in the Senate on Friday.
But what is alarming is the fact that a number of frontline workers are among the reported COVID-19 cases on Grand Bahama, proving that somewhere along the line, some protocols were compromised, and these frontline workers were exposed and subsequently infected. But what was also alarming to us on this side is the fact that in the midst of the surge in cases, some persons were able to violate quarantine orders and was moving about public places with little or no regard for consequences.
He also accused the Prime Minister of being on a power trip as he insisted the competent authority has failed to be transparent. Darville insisted extending the COVID-19 emergency orders until September 30th is simply too long.
We on this side cannot support the government's recommendation to extend the emergency orders for an additional 2 months and walk away. Come back to this Parliament, explain the successes, articulate the failures, and speak about the new protocols to fix these failures.
Dr. Darville also called on Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis to be more forthcoming, as he says informing the public is key to clamping down on panic.
But lockdowns and curfews without explanation by the competent authority is unacceptable. You don't give an order and walk away from the camera. You give an order and you explain what the order means. You explain what is happening in the country, and you be truthful to the Bahamian people so that we will know exactly how to protect ourselves and families.
Dr. Darville also insisted that the time has come for everyone to work together, as he pledged the opposition is willing to work with the government to save lives and the economy. Well, still ahead tonight, one opposition senator calls on government to look out for the less fortunate in the community during COVID. And the National Emergency Management Agency practices its disaster response plan. Those stories coming from you.
It was Chichino. Rev up in the next promotion? Okay. Nice.
Bike, you give up it.
That's 2 out of 3.
Rev is making this summer hotter than ever with our Rev Hot Summer Staycation. Simply upgrade to Rev Trio and use your free apps like Rev Go Play to watch your favorite NBA teams and Rev Go Voice to stay connected and enter to win a free staycation on us. You can also enter to win a bi-weekly home party for you and your family or a weekly drawing for a sleek new mobile device. Don't get caught daydreaming. Get in the game and into the fun. Visit rev.bs/trio for details. Rev, you and us, together.
Next tonight, with the COVID-19 pandemic not going anywhere and the Minnis administration stopping commercial flights from the United States, Progressive Liberal Party Chairman Fred Mitchell says it is clear the economy will not rebound anytime soon. Given that fact, Mitchell says the government needs to place even more focus on those struggling to make ends meet.
There was no money coming in, and that's the issue, is the economy. So the government has to take the steps, if they're shutting down the economy, They have to take the steps to make sure that people can eat. People's homes are now being repossessed. Their businesses are shutting down. The vendors are screaming in Potters Key and Arawak Key saying, who thought about us?
Since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic and the state of emergency that was initiated in March, the government has initiated a series of restrictive measures that included curfews, lockdowns, and the temporary closure of the country's borders.
It's just a bad situation, but we pray for the best.
The Minnis administration has initiated a number of social safety initiatives, including NIB payouts for those who have lost their jobs during the pandemic. In early July, the National Insurance Board said it had paid out in excess of $60 million in unemployment benefits to more than 34,000 claimants. When our news, the weekend edition, comes back from the break, NEMA puts its disaster response plan into action. And later, the opposition leader receives a special presentation. The details when we return.
Our world has changed. Many businesses have been closed for months with little or no access to their customers until now. Rev Media can help you remain connected to your customers. Our trusted customized advertising packages and personalized consultants will provide your business with immeasurable support during this challenging time. Your customers are already watching. Rev Media can help you to remain connected. Call us today. Let us help you.
Welcome back to our news, the weekend edition. As the National Emergency Management Agency continues to prepare for the eventuality of a storm, Captain Stephen Russell, director of NEMA, says they would have learned a number of things from deadly storm Hurricane Dorian and are now going through those reports.
Where we had all of the partners who were involved in the exercise, as well as NGOs, international partners, and they noted their concerns, policies, procedures, and some challenges we were having. So again, this exercise will take us through those after action review commence, and we'll again, based on the scenario that will be coming our way through the exercise, which is scheduled for August, just next month. We hope to clear up some of those challenges we've been having and make sure we have a smooth plan of action moving forward, particularly in terms of evacuation, logistics, and some other areas. We want to make sure we have a sound grasp of moving forward with those areas.
Operation Restore Island Keys is in collaboration with the U.S. Northern Command and will commence between August 17th and the 20th. Over 150 NGOs registered last year with NEMA, and some are still on the ground in the hardest hit islands. Captain Russell said shelters are in place and they continue to work with regional and international partners.
We also saw in Abaco in particular, because of the devastation of the storm, the whole of government had almost had to evacuate from the island. So we had to find a way to get back in there to provide some degree of assistance in the absence of a government system, and to be able to collaborate with the NGOs that were coming in country to get the recovery operations going forward.
Up next, evangelist Rex Major presents his book to the opposition leader. So stay with us.
It was cheat, you know.
Rev up in the next promotion? Okay. Nice.
Bite. You give up it.
That's 2 out of 3.
Rev is making this summer hotter than ever with our Rev Hot Summer Staycation. Simply upgrade to Rev Trio and use your free apps like Rev Go Play to watch your favorite NBA teams and Rev Go Voice to stay connected and enter to win a free staycation on us. You can also enter to win a bi-weekly home party for you and your family or a weekly drawing for a sleek new mobile device. Don't get caught daydreaming. Get in the game and into the fun. Visit rev.bs/trio for details. Rev, you and us, together.
Finally tonight, evangelist Rex Major presented Progressive Liberal Party leader Philip Davis with his book, March On to Glory and to God. The semi-autobiographical book contains messages delivered by Major during the early days of independence. Davis expressed gratitude for the gesture and spoke of some of the good work Major has done over the years.
I do recall and was reminded about the efforts made by him back in the early days of the Crifter Games, when he had groups of Christian young people that he took to the Crifter Games so they could be exposed to other Christian Caribbean people to ensure that our connection was more than just talk, but actuality.
Major said at heart he is a Bahamian who is invested in Bahamian growth and experience. He explained the reason behind his push for a Caribbean connection. Major said the Lord clearly informed him that he belongs to the Caribbean.
But as I waited before God and cried out to him for guidance, his word is very clear. Rex, you belong to the Caribbean. I want your services to serve the Caribbean. America is feeding of the best of the Caribbean now as they go run away and hide up there. You stay. Salaries will be small, travel will be difficult, but that's not the goal of ministry. The goal of ministry is to serve.